Hi, welcome to Awakening Soul Truth. I'm Robbie Short. This is Allison Ledbetter. I'm a yogi. She's a medium. We're both Reiki masters and meditation teachers. And we want to wish you Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We thought we would start the year off by giving you a little forecast for the energy that's upcoming in 2023. So we're going to talk about some ancient sciences and some divination arts of astrology and numerology.
The reason we love astrology is because it tells us different energies or different possible influences on our day-to-day life. Ancient civilizations used astrology for all kinds of predictions, and they used the stars and the planets to tell them what was happening in the universe and what they could expect in their own realities. The beauty of each planet, it said each planet has its own sound, its own harmony, but it also has a psychological component or its own energy in it and of itself. And so the planets, when we look at astrology, we're looking at a planet having its own psychology moving into a certain zodiac. And the 12 zodiacs have certain energies and certain qualities. And so we combine the two and we start to look at what's influencing our day-to-day life.
Certain planets affect us socially. Certain planets affect us politically. Certain planets affect us personally. So they all are playing a role in this play of life. Each of them has their own rotation around the sun. Each of them will go through different zodiac signs based on different time parameters. And it's something that's predictable.
Yes. And not only that, astrology now can look back in time and see this is what we predicted and this is what lined up and happened. So,
and it can give us an idea of what's to come.
Is a pattern repeating itself? Is there a cycle that's about to show up again? And there's quite a few amazing predictions for 2023. Yeah. It's going to be a serious year.
It's going to be a big year. And
sorry.
We're excited about this year, but please remember 2022 to 2024 is, according to astrology, the year of the collapse of the old paradigm system. So 2023 is right in the middle of the collapse. So just remember this year, even though things are collapsing and there's endings, with every ending is a new beginning. So we're going to start seeing more beginnings and new things being launched this year. In fact, some of the astrologers we've listened to are saying that, the beginning of 2023 is going to look completely different than the end of 2023 with the new things that are coming, new inventions, big advances in science and in health and aviation, space, just to name a few.
It's so important to recognize that we are in the middle of a paradigm shift. We are in the middle of this photon belt with light coming in. We're in the middle of all these planets aligning, shifting into a new sign over the next 3 years.
We have planets that are direct. We have planets that are sometimes in retrograde. And so starting off 2023, we actually have 2 planets in retrograde. It's Mercury and Mars. So Mercury is the planet that rules mind, thinking, communication, technology, travel, things of that nature. So there may be glitches happening with our technology. There may be miscommunications.
We have all the travel over Christmas and those ice storms that came through.
Yeah, it didn't start until the end of December. But yes, there's always a foreshadowing before it happens. And there's also a shadow period when it ends. So typically the Mercury in retrograde usually lasts about 3 weeks. And it can happen 3 to 4 times a year. With Mercury being in a retrograde and Mars being in retrograde, Mars rules Aries. So think about Aries as leadership, pioneering, initiating new things. So Mars is about taking action. So think about in the beginning of the new year, oftentimes we set up goals, we create resolutions or yogic intentions. And sometimes we're so excited about the new year, we just want to get on it right away. We want to hustle right into it. But not this year. This year, with the planets being in retrograde, it's about us going within, taking time to retreat, taking time to reevaluate, to recalibrate our system. So really for the first couple of weeks of the year, I would suggest not launching new things,
right,
not signing contracts, but rather just taking your time to really maybe journal or, just plan, just plan ahead.
This goes really well with just winter, being done with the holidays, taking a minute to set back and reset. So it's not only in the planets, it's actually a really good time for hibernation.
Yeah.
It's a really good time to sit back and rest and reflect into what we really want to create, because what's coming up, we want to be really aware of. We want to be really conscious of our thoughts and our actions. So let's see what else is coming up.
So I want you to think about this. The last few years since 2020, I'm going to look down at my notes to make sure I get it correct. Saturn has been in Aquarius. Saturn rules structure, and Aquarius is freedom. And think about how the structures in place have been restricting our freedom.
Yep.
So the good news is it's moving into Pisces. And so hopefully that will bring more freedom. I think it's going to bring more freedom.
This is one of the biggest shifts that is going to just glimpse for 3 months this year. And then it'll go back into, and then we're going to see Saturn completely move into Aquarius. And what an incredible time of allowing our freedoms to be ignited. We're going to see a huge shift in what does it mean to be free.
Yeah.
And taking back the power. One of the greatest theories is that the people and equality are really going to take front and center stage over the next couple of years. And that's kind of what this awakening place is going to. And I just wanted to make a quick side note that we are not astrologers.
No.
Sorry.
We love to dabble in it.
Right.
We love to listen to it.
We forgot to say that in the beginning. So interruption, you listen to Molly McCord.
I listen to Molly McCord. We both listen to
Pamela Gregory.
Bracha.
Bracha?
I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Goldsmith.
Yes.
Okay. So, and there's a ton of astrologers out there. Okay.
Well, the ones you resonate with.
The one you resonate with. And I love Pamela Gregory because she's got such deep wisdom and she just says it so eloquently. We're going to go through a huge shift. We want to come in.
She's so poised.
She is so poised.
And Bracha, if I'm pronouncing her name correct, she's so fun.
She's happy.
She's joy.
She really is.
And Molly does intuitive astrology. So if you listen to her, it's so in depth. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but it's so good because she puts her own intuitive messages mixed in with it. And it's just so much rich information that you can draw from and use.
Okay, so back to Saturn. We've seen a lot of freedoms being restricted, and there's been a lot of questioning of what do we want to say in terms of our technology? What do we want to say in terms of our expression in the world? And I would personally love to see our freedoms being restored, but that we can have boundaries. We can have boundaries on our social media.
Yeah.
If you want to express yourself in a certain way, there can be a platform in an area for you. But to impose the full access of everything on our children or even on ourselves, we were saying earlier how we're offended by so much of the commercials and algorithms. You had to eject off of TikTok as soon as you got
I actually
on.
tried to get on TikTok twice, 2 days in a row. I was on there for 5, maybe 7 minutes. I couldn't take it. I had put in that I wanted to, have health and yoga or dogs or, these simple things. And the things that were coming up on my feed were pretty raunchy. And I actually was getting the validation that I was very happy that I had told my son, no, you cannot have TikTok.
Right.
Because it's pretty bad.
Well, the point being it's offensive.
Yes.
It was offensive to you, and you did not scroll through and start looking at pornography, but you received pornography for no apparent reason.
It wasn't not pornography. It was just raunchy stuff.
Raunchy. I just went there, but... Yeah. So, the point being... We have an opportunity to express ourselves, but we don't need it to be controlled. We can be wise about it and have different platforms and areas where we express ourselves and have boundaries, but it doesn't mean I'm going to control who you are. We don't all need to be controlled to get to peace. We do need to find wisdom.
Well, what's nice about these astrologers we've listened to is some of them are saying that this is the year where people are going to become more responsible, and that a lot of the social media platforms are going to get an overhaul, and the responsibility is going to come back in to play, which I think is nice and wise and better for society.
Yeah. As usual, we have both sides of ourselves. What you feed is what you become. Mm-hmm. And it's gotten a pretty low grade in my book in terms of how we're behaving as a society. And this astrology is telling us that we have this wonderful window and opportunity for enormous amounts of shifting into a greater understanding of wisdom, of light. We're shifting into a deeper connection to ourselves.
Well, what's really nice about comparing, and I've been doing this for a number of years now, at the beginning of the year, I always create some classes and do research based on the numerology and the astrology for the upcoming year. And I didn't know this years ago when I started, but there's harmony between the two.
Yes.
And what I also discovered is that there's also harmony with the astrology, the numerology, and the Chinese zodiac that comes up usually, it's usually closer to February where the Chinese New Year comes about because they go by the lunar calendar. But there's harmony with that too. And what they're calling or saying about this year is it's going to be a great year of healing. And if you think about the collective trauma that we've all been through just due to the pandemic, this is the year where we're going to focus on mental health. We're going to focus on sobriety. We're going to focus on healing even our karmic stuff. And talking about karma, the nodes of the moon and how they're influencing us are switching. So we've been kind of ruled by the node that represents karma. And you might have noticed in 2022, a lot of things kind of resurging or regurgitating up inside of you that maybe you thought you had healed or you had outgrown or had, kind of left in the past. And all of a sudden, boom, it was right there in our psyche again or playing out in our life again. This could have been with relationships. There was a lot of ancestral patterns that were coming up in 2022. The beauty of 2023 is it's switching to the other node of Dharma. And Dharma is our purpose. Dharma is discovering who we are, why we're here, what feeds us, what motivates us, what feeds our passion, what do we love, and then being of service in the path that we take in life. So there's a lot of exciting things just stirring with that alone, because a lot of people, and I think we mentioned this in the last video, are a little discontented with maybe their work or their relations or where they're living. And they've been mulling the question, okay, what next? Is this what I really want in life? We're reevaluating all of that.
And hopefully moving beyond just the money scenario, moving into, I really do have purpose. I am driven by certain things I feel in my heart. I'm driven by my, what I'm paying attention to, and I want to create more of my gift and my purpose because it's fulfilling.
Yes, it is fulfilling. And I have heard a few channelers talk about this with people who have been frustrated that are on this path, knowing that this ascension is occurring, knowing that the paradigm shift is occurring, And they've been kind of beating themselves up thinking, well, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? And I think this is important. And you as a medium and psychic, you can also maybe maybe attest to this, I guess.
Okay.
Is some of them are saying, not everyone's going to be a healer. Not everyone is meant to be a master creator. Some of us are here just to bear witness, just to be here to hold the light and to support the healers, or to support the inventors, or to support the people who are creating the change.
Right.
Just holding this space.
So this gets us, part of this huge paradigm shift is that we are a collective.
Yes.
We were talking about this earlier, about, you just nailed it. There are all these different roles. You have been trained to do a certain role because that's what society told you. You got the education for it. You went into accounting, or you went into something. But that might not be what's truly in your heart. You might not have math at your core, but you may find another purpose. It doesn't have to be a huge purpose, but collectively, we're going to start really connecting and collaborating and supporting each other. So we were talking about Darwin's theory of competition earlier, and our society,
survival of the fittest.
Yes, our society really reflects that survival of the
fittest.
It's been
ingrained.
Absolutely. It's been like, you'll rise to the top. How well can you handle your stress and do all the areas and be proficient at them and excel at them? And it's madness. I really feel like it's absolute madness how much each person is asked to do. When we have this paradigm shift and what they're discovering in science, because science has to be at the basis of all of this, is this beautiful union that our nature, our environment is actually in collaboration. It is in harmony with each other. We're not all the parts separate. We are a whole organism. Everything works together in harmony. We really love the show, and I just wanted to bring it up by Greg Braden, this Missing Link show. It talks about all this science, and he showed a picture of the stars and how we see them as separate. And now they're using different cameras and infrared to look at the stars, and they're finding that there's this whole web and weaving all over the universe. Looks so much like a spider's web, connecting all the stars. All the energy in between the stars is what they could see. That happens in our body. That happens all around us in a field.
That gives me a little shimmy inside. It's exciting.
So we have to rise into the collective.
Yeah.
You have purpose.
Tell them what you said about the Native Americans and the webbing.
Right. So for ancient civilizations,
okay, so not just Native Americans.
Yeah, just tons of them have talked about a webbing in the universe, or a weaving. They talk about we're woven together. And they've actually seen it as kind of a mesh. I see it as a field of energy around us all the time. And this is what we talked about, like feeding into what matrix? Are you feeding into a light matrix of love? Are you feeding into the dark matrix, which is we are dispersing of that? That's what's breaking up. That's what's leaving. We have the freedom to be in this positive new space, finding deeper purpose, putting up boundaries, using wisdom.
And this brings us to what's happening with Pluto.
Yeah.
Because Pluto changes a sign every 20 years. And I love that, I believe it was Pamela Gregory was saying, this is what creates the generations.
Oh, that's neat.
And I had never thought of that in that way. But Pluto is the one of transformation. It's about the unearthing of things. And Pluto just made its natal return in the United States natal chart last year. And it's one of the reasons why we've been seeing so many revelations, so many truths coming out, so many things that have been kind of hidden coming out. I mean, even when the JFK files came out. Now, granted, they didn't give us all the information, because I just saw an interview with someone who was studying that paperwork, and they were frustrated because they were like, really? 2 of the pages were completely blank. Another page was really blurry. You couldn't read it. They're just giving us little snippets here and there. But the fact that at least some of it's coming out is hope that all of it will be coming out soon. Because Pluto is now going to be going into Aquarius. And this is where there's going to be more sharing, more trading, more philanthropy, more communities coming together, whether it's an online community like this, or whether it's a community in your own neighborhood, or maybe learning how you can trade with people, finding your soul tribe. So that's really coming important. More and more. And it's going to be in Aquarius for a little bit this year. It's going to backtrack, going to another Capricorn. Yes. And then it's going to move back into Aquarius 2024 for 20 years.
Which is really important.
Which brings up more collaboration, cooperation,
connection to each other,
the power of the people coming together, and not being so dependent on structures like we've been dependent on, like education or religion or politics, just to name a couple.
Just almost the one-sidedness of any of those fields. So we're really going to open up and expand. So to pick up on this technology piece that you just mentioned, we've mentioned it before that our technology is going to be evolving. How can it not? We're already seeing it double in every 2 years. I mean, it's crazy how fast we're evolving in terms of our technology. But the technology now is going to really start to prove the spiritual. We've been talking about these areas of the unknown or the unseen, and how they're influencing us, just like astrology influences us, but we haven't been able to be like, oh, here's the direct relationship, because we haven't seen it. We're people of proof. We want proof for all of it. And what's really going to start to show up is that technology is going to reflect these deeper spiritual kind of realizations. Things are seen as magical until you prove that it's science behind it or something. So for us, it's the field around, the conscious field around every human being, and how thought is first. That technology, that's going to be proven. It already actually has been proven, but we haven't allowed it to be in the mainstream yet. Technology is going to just be so evolved, our minds are going to be blown to a place of like, oh my gosh, healing's going to become a totally different paradigm.
Yeah, I've been hearing that one of the ways that healing is going to really change in the near future, and we're already actually seeing this, is through sound, through light, and even crystals.
Absolutely.
And we've been kind of using all of that anyway.
Yoga,
meditation. I'm talking about this is coming to the main populace.
Right.
More and more people are going to realize the power of sound. I mean, the first time I went to a sound meditation was over 20 years ago in Nashville. And it was amazing. And it was a man that was just passing through. He had done a lot of research in hospitals. There's been a lot of study with sounds being part of the rehabilitation system in the prisons in India. And they're seeing great things come from this through healing.
Fabulous.
And now we used to, Half Moon used to be one of the only studios in Nashville that did a lot of regular sound healings and meditations. And now literally when I open up my Instagram, like every studio is doing it now, which is great because it just means that people are benefiting from this, realizing the result of it, and it's spreading.
Yeah, it brings harmony to you.
Yeah, and more surgeries are through light or through lasers.
Right.
So they're not having to make big incisions. They can make a tiny incision. And I had LASIK surgery on my eyes, It's amazing. So it's going to come out more and more and more in the next few years.
And they said it's really going to boom. And I forget what planet's supposed to move where for that to happen.
Yeah.
They
we'll
did mention that.
Well, and one of the astrologers were saying that, certain planetary alignments that are happening this year is the same that was happening the year that electricity was invented.
Right. Okay, now I remember
that
hearing
was huge. That literally changed our lifestyle.
Right.
And then they also said it's the same or a similar planetary alignment or same planetary alignment to what happened in the 90s when the World Wide Web, when the internet was pretty much starting to go into every person's home. That's how big the inventions or the changes are going to be for us this year.
Which is fabulous. We're ready.
Yeah.
We're ready to change.
We're ready to evolve.
Yeah. We're ready to evolve.
So, one important thing I want to mention. So, a couple of those planets are in retrograde through towards the end of January. And then until May, all planets direct. And when all the planets are direct, full throttle.
Chills. Yeah. Ugh.
Fast pace. I mean, things are really going to be happening quickly.
Mm-hmm. Hold on.
Yeah.
So I'm to have all of them be direct and have every planet changing signs. It's like we're at a pinnacle point. We're at the top of a tower. We're at a place of huge shift. Mm-hmm. And that's why we keep talking about this huge leap. Let's talk about the number 7.
Okay. Well, let's tell them why it's number 7.
It's beautiful.
So in numerology, numbers are important, and you talk about the numbers being important so well.
2023. That's what we're talking about.
We're talking about numbers in general and the math and...
Oh, yes. So the importance of math is that everything in the world, in the universe, breaks down into numbers. It is the universal language. And all of our science, all of our nature is in sacred geometry. Everything in your body has sacred geometry, and it can be broken down into numbers. So it is already a part of who you are. We're based on this foundation of mathematics.
Yeah, and you have a personal number. If you add up your month, your day of your birth, plus the year of your birth, that's going to give you a personal number for your life. If you want the personal number for this year, it would be the month, the date, and 2023. And you would add those up. There are master numbers like 11, 22, and 33 that you don't break down. But say, for instance, Allison was 12. Hers would turn to 3, since it's not a master number, 1 plus 2. And then mine is 9, which is a lot about endings and cocoonings and things of that nature. But the universal number, and that's what we're looking at and sharing with you now. If you just simply look at 2023, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 3 is 7. So this is a universal 7 year. That means 7 is a highly spiritual number. There's going to be spiritual reformations happening. People that, there's been a lot of people seeking. There's going to be more soul searching. There's going to be people coming back into the healing arts that maybe left it during the pandemic. More people going into things like Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, seeking these things out that can tap them in and enrich their heart and soul. Mm-hmm. If you look at the number 7, it's 7 days in a week. 7 colors in the rainbow, 7 major chakras. 7 shows up in a lot of the biblical prophecies. 7 seals, the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, the 7 angels. Even in yoga, we have the original 7 sages. So 7 is a really powerful number. And they say 7 is like bringing heaven down to earth.
Which is just profound.
And what I love about the numerology, they say because it's the number 7, we'll be asking ourselves the big question, who am I? What am I doing with my time and energy? What is my purpose? What fulfills me? Right? And astrology is saying the same thing. So the astrology is in harmony with the numerology. We were talking about the nodes of the moon shifting to Dharma. That's where all that inquisitive work, all of that introspection is going to help us to go into that mode of discovery of what path we want to take. Mm-hmm. What decisions do we want to make? So it's going to be a deepening of self-awareness, an elevation of consciousness. And because it's 7 and it's this highly potent spiritual number, there's going to be more and more people getting bestowed the gifts of like telepathy, psychic abilities, clairvoyance, clairaudience, mediumship, which is really exciting. Now, I'm saying they're gifts to be bestowed, but really what it is, it's an awakening, right? And if we're evolving our state of consciousness, we're going to be able to tap into a different realm, tap into these other dimensions, and to be able to use our intuitive gifts.
I have not encountered a single person who I've trained in Reiki or trained in any type of awakening who didn't acquire a spiritual gift, a psychic ability. So all of those abilities are actually pretty natural. We exist in more than one dimension. You're more than third dimension. Your soul exists at a higher vibration. And these gifts you're talking about is the way the soul communicates.
Yeah.
Through telepathy, through clairvoyance. All of these abilities which you think might be for just a few people are actually going to become a norm because we are stepping into this higher vibration. You exist in more than one dimension. Yeah. You exist in a number of dimensions at the same time. And realizing that it's not scary when you just, it's a natural way. It's just like a flower moving from a bud and opening up the petals. There's no like, you don't need to panic. You just need to breathe, really.
Yeah.
Just breathe and start letting go of false systems because there's a natural system that's with every single person. There's a natural system and rhythm that we've gotten disconnected from.
And I think that's part of the spiritual path this year is discovering the things that may be hindering us or blocking us or keeping us held back. And you were saying boundaries earlier. In numerology with the number 7, it is about creating healthier boundaries for yourself.
Yeah. You're allowed to choose consciously your reality. And you are choosing it if you're aware of it or not. So becoming aware of what you're putting into the universe, how you're affecting the field of energy around you. Be aware. When, that gets us to the water thing. Yes, so there's a lot of water signs happening this year.
That gets me to Chinese zodiac.
Yes, okay.
So the Chinese zodiac that will be coming up, we've been in the water tiger. Now let's just reflect on 2022 for a moment. The water tiger. Yes, we had more earthquakes. Yes, we had more volcanoes. But think about the flooding that happened. We had floods in Alaska, floods in Kentucky, floods in Georgia, floods in Florida. We had flooding in Australia, flooding in Europe. I mean, flooding in Pakistan. That was horrific. So there has been pockets of flooding everywhere around the globe.
Because of the water sign.
But there's also been waters receding. I know there was a place where the riverbed got so shallow that they could stand in it and they could see the engravings of messages from people who had also experienced this from another time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I'm not positive it's Germany, but it's somewhere not here in North America. There was another receding of water in Spain where they discovered like another circle of rocks similar to Stonehenge, not as big as Stonehenge, but the archaeologists have been going down, with the waters receding and studying these rocks and this, ancient structure that was hidden underwater, just like the Buddha that was hidden under the water in China. The water receded, and then you could see it wasn't just the bust of a Buddha, it was the whole body
entire
of a Buddha.
Body came out.
It was so cool.
So 2022 had a lot of water.
2023 is the year of the water rabbit. So in the Chinese zodiac, they use earth, fire, metal, water, air. So with those elements, they come with the zodiac animal. So this one's going to be the water rabbit. that means more water. So more sea levels rising. We already know this is occurring scientifically because of the planetary shifts and changes that are occurring, the ice melting in Antarctica. They're already predicting in the next 10 years, 40% of the population around the planet that lives closer to the coastlines will most likely have to relocate because the water levels are changing. At the same time, it's also being predicted that land masses that have been submerged underwater will lift out of the water where the waters are receding.
Right. So it's all shifting.
It's all shifting. Now, coming back to water, I know in one of our videos we were talking about the Japanese scientist who studied the molecular structure.
Emoto, yeah.
Yes, and how the polluted water was really distorted. The spring water was beautiful and snowflake-like, and it depended on what words you were saying, what energy you were sharing with it, what music you were playing, and you could change it.
Crystallize into beautiful patterns or fall apart.
Yeah.
So we found a new person who's doing some studies on water, and her name's Veda
Austin.
Yeah. And she's taking, just with her iPhone, you should look her up, Veda Austin. She's taking pictures of water when she's applying a certain object or thought. The crystals are forming and mimicking the thought.
It's so wild, you guys.
To be able to capture.
It's so beautiful because
reaction.
She took his studies even deeper and started looking at each stage that the water was freezing and then studying what was left. In the seawater, when it was frozen, it has formations of fish.
Which is outstanding. When she takes pictures of even of a dog or a person, and then they'll see that same outline come up in the water. She did it of mushrooms. She's done it of tons of beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
And what it's saying is that there's a consciousness in our water. There's a consciousness happening that the water is responding to our thoughts. So
we're made up of 70 to 75% water.
So our goal for you, our challenge, our hope is that you consciously start creating this world of shifting into peace.
For instance.
And shifting our consciousness by saying positive things.
Yes. You know, and think about the environments you're going into, the things you're watching, the music you're listening to. Any of that is shaping what's inside of us. I mean, if the water is being shaped sitting in a Petri dish, you know, how is it forming inside of our body? I was telling Allison, my son plays DJ in the car, and lately I've been noticing if a song irritates me or if I start to feel like distorted internally, I immediately turn it off. Because I don't want that. I want something more elevating, something that's making me feel good in my body.
So we really want to create this new world, create this new earth, move into this paradigm shift with all these positive thoughts, with all of this potential, with all of this breaking through to a higher reality and different consciousness. And we can do it. And we don't have to fight, and we don't have to
protest.
You don't even have to protest. You just have to sit in your house and create peace within yourself, create peace with the people in your life, with your friends, with your partners, with your family. This is all about changing into who you really want to be and not who you have to be in terms of what society tells you. Change into your God version. Change into your highest potential or your greatest dream. That's this year. Reflect in the beginning and turn it on. Our change is in our hands, and not by fighting and not being like, oh, we can't do that, or da-da-da-da-da. They've got all the power. They've got all the money. They have all the resources. No, you have the resource. We're all interwound. We're all connected, And this is about collaboration and sharing our gifts.
With that being said, 2023 is going to be bringing out more truths. And there's also going to be a lot of falsehoods because they're going to be, trying not to get the truth out or trying to confuse people on what the truth is. And this is where the layer of discernment comes in. So use your layer of discernment and try not to get emotionally charged. There were a couple things in 2022 that happened. And in the past, it would have emotionally made me so angry. I would have been the first to protest. And I chose to not let it get to me. I was just going to be neutral about it.
Yeah.
And it served me well. So I'm going to carry that into this year as well. And I'm encouraging you, try not to get emotionally charged. Try not to get self-righteous on this is right or this is wrong. Because if we can hold the neutral space, if we can hold this state of yoga, then we are aligning to the light and the love that will be the pillar that can be the foundation of building up that higher state of consciousness to create the new earth, to create the world that we really want to live in.
It's stepping into wisdom.
Yeah.
And a higher consciousness. Well, thank you.
This was fun.
Let's do a meditation.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get prepared. And so just prepare yourself by finding a comfortable seat, whether that's on the floor, on your furniture, legs crossed, or feet grounded somehow. Close your eyes to cut out any visual stimulation. And maybe turn down any external noise. Begin to notice the in and out flow of your breath. And simply bear witness to it. "2023 is a year where we're going to breathe well again. So breathe well now." In yoga, we talk about the breath being the thread that interweaves the mind, the body, and the spirit together as one. And when we drop into that state of oneness, we feel the unity. We feel the connection to all that is. Feel the expansion of your lungs and allow them to expand not just in the front of the body, but in the sides of the body and in the back of the body. And then freely empty them when you feel compelled to breathe out. Notice how the breath can quiet the inner noise of the mind. How it can reset the mind and drop us into the layer of wisdom of the heart. And as you embed yourself in your heart space, connecting to your own internal soul, feel free to repeat these affirmations internally and quietly in your mind, in a whisper or out loud if you wish. I am releasing the old versions of myself. I am releasing my poor habits and stuck patterns so that I can step into my greatest potential. I step into the highest version of myself and offer it to the world. I am living my divine purpose. I choose peace and harmony in my day-to-day life. I am remembering the power of the consciousness held in water and thus myself. I choose to align to love. I am loved. I am love. Now that we've planted those seeds, continue to irrigate the seeds with your breath so that the seeds are being nurtured, supported, to sprout, to grow, and to thrive. And then placing your left hand over your heart and your right hand on top of that. I am stepping in to my greatest potential. This is the year that I choose to heal. I will stay neutral and lessen any emotional charge, remembering that I am filled with love and light. Please continue your meditation longer if needed, or make a yogic intention to practice some breath work, some meditation, or affirmations daily, for this is the year for profound change. Namaste.